been a proponent of staying with Glendale and La Crescenta businesses. I always had a firm belief of buying locally, and I understand the importance of looking outside too, and looking what's around us to better serve our needs. When we were having these concerns from the school sites, because I didn't hear a lot of the concerns. I heard various concerns once in a while, but I didn't hear an ongoing cry to make change. Did we convey this to ArmGuard, our 17-year company that's with us? Did you have communication with them so I could feel like we're totally moving in the right direction? What do you feel about that? Can you answer that question?
Yes. Before we went through the process, the bidding process, we talked to both. I personally talked to both Marshall and ArmGuard, letting them understand the process that we were going to go to, that there would be a bidding process, that the bidding process was because there had been some complaints, and that we wanted them to participate in the bidding process.
Wait, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Complaints on both firms?
Yes.
Because I didn't hear that before.
Yes.
It's the first time hearing this.
Complaints about both firms, but the majority of the complaints that we've had are with the ArmGuard, who is our largest contractor, about supervision, about the ability to get a hold of someone when there's a problem. If a guard doesn't show up, you get an answering service. The answering service says the owner will call you back. I mean, I don't know if I should go into the details of the complaints with the specific company, but non-response when there were problems or things out of the ordinary. And so
obviously that's what provoked the situation.
Correct.
Of searching and reevaluating our stance on safety, because safety is important to all five of us. First thing, we want to do what's best for our district. And basically you're recommending this approach. Staff is recommending this approach. The only question I'm hearing now is that maybe isn't fulfilled is the background information for SB. And is there any other concerns that we hear? Did they answer everyone else's questions then on this concerns? Does anyone else have any questions? No? Ms. Boger?
Just a comment. I just want to clarify that I heard you correctly, Dr. Price. Your knowledge, have we ever hired any firm without understanding their background and knowing with whom we were doing business?
Not that I know of. I mean, we try our best with references and.
Thank you. I would consider it to be standard operating procedure in this district that if you are going to recommend to this board member or any other board member that we do business with someone, then you are prepared to tell me that you believe them to be an appropriate firm with which we should do business.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Wagner?
I would just say that I've known this was on our agenda. I've seen the information and read it, knew the recommendation. I didn't ask the question, do you know everything about this company you're recommending? Because as Mrs. Boger said, as I said earlier, I know that that's how we do business here, and that that the staff does its homework. But had I had such a question, that's what I would want to ask. That's our process, is to send in our questions so that they can be answered when we know we're about to make a decision on something.
I respectfully remind my colleagues that we spent about an hour and 15 minutes dealing with issues in closed session that prompt me to ask the question. And I think you should be asking the same questions I'm asking. I want to know about this company. It is the responsibility of staff to inform me before asking me to vote on this company. I don't want to be in a position where I'm suing this company down the line. Thank you.
Dr. Price, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Last week, did I or did I not ask you to ask this company to come in with the owner, the person specifically who's going to supervise the guards, their accountant, and who else was part of that process?
Their marketing.
Their marketing person and so forth. So this decision wasn't made lightly on the part of the superintendent, the recommendation that you personally made sure that all of those people came in to meet with them.
Correct.
Okay. I also believe that it's a responsibility for a board member to ask for those questions before a board meeting, rather than prompting those questions here at this time, especially when several opportunities were provided.
Sir,
Well,
I
let's,
don't want to get into a conversation and an argument
Yeah.
with you, but there were plenty of emails and phone calls made on this matter. Okay?
To the superintendent?
fair enough. Wait, listen, let's get back to
It was
the,
dealt through the president, and the president called you about it, okay? So let's not sit here, let's be respectful of each other. I did not ask you for anything out of the ordinary. I did not. I respectfully asked, as you have done in every contract you have done, give us the background. Simple.
And I've never.
And all I've asked tonight is in my motion
Ask
is
for
to
background
defer the item and give us the answers.
And I've never not done that when I'm asked that.
I-
When I'm asked that.
Mr. President, I
Please.
withdraw my motion.
he was
My
asking now.
amendment. I
He's withdrawing his
respect-
motion, but I want to clear the air here because it's important, because we all have to realize, we all have a fiduciary responsibility to our constituents, and it's, no question is a bad question. I mean, it's important that we grow through these situations here, and it's a fair assessment because we are asking and dealing with a budget of close to $500,000 project. It's a serious contract. And I do trust staff to who they're recommending, but there's a question that's being raised. I asked some questions earlier where I emailed them or called them in. But I didn't think about, I'm looking through my notes, I didn't see any background information on some of these companies, what they actually do, what neighboring districts have they worked for other than LAUSD, or is it a retired LAUSD security or officer? Is that what this is?
The person that they're pulling in to supervise their guards is a retired LAUSD policeman who will be out at our sites making sure that the guards are doing what they need to do. One of the telltale pieces of the interview, one of the questions was, what would you do if your guard saw a fight going on? The answers from the other companies were very brief, almost non-committal, evasive. I could even use the word. This company talked about, listen, it all starts before the fight. You've got to know your students. You've got to be out and about. You have to know which students are going to be causing problems. You have to know which of those students are from which groups. You have to understand the dynamics on the campus. The guard has to be out all the time with the kids. They can't be back reading the newspaper. Then they talked about if there is a disturbance, then, and they went through the steps of the disturbance. And the gentleman said, he said, listen, he said, and the way you break up the fight, he says, is the first one that turns their eye to you, that's the one you pull off, because that's the one that's ready to stop fighting. I mean, the experience was just absolutely amazing. And the other companies in the interview process and in the questionnaire process gave short answers that were not detailed. Like I said, did not show any experience. Even the company that we've had for 17 years, it was just a night and day difference for that process.
I mean, still, and ultimately, we're realizing that they're paying the security guards $12 or $13 an hour by the time they're
That's
getting
right.
it. Some of these firms aren't even providing health care. We're not dealing with and you're telling me responses from the leadership, not from the average Joe
Correct.
that's actually going to have the uniform
Correct.
on. So let's be honest here with some of the
Correct.
situations, because we've dealt with this 6 years ago with some of the security guard companies
Yeah.
when they came in. And I just want to say something to all 6 of us. It's important that we do respect each other's comments, because that's what we're here for. And we're here to question. I know there's a process of questioning, and there's a way of doing it, to sending it ahead of time. Sometimes things are out of our control all the time. We can't control everything. The key thing is moving forward and doing the right thing. If all of one colleague's questions aren't answered, I think that it's an important thing that we need to discuss so we could fulfill what we need to have done. So you're saying, Shakib, you're withdrawing your motion. You have no more questions or comments. Okay.
I'll withdraw my second. And I was going to also add that.
You have a comment, Ms. Navin, to that?
Yes, in addition. That's encouraging, the concrete example that you gave, because when I say I want clarity about their roles, the role of the security guards, those are the kinds of examples I want to hear about, because I do know of concrete examples where security guards have not known what to do and have not intervened. And so it is encouraging to know that this particular company, at the minimum, their administration or their trainers or the supervisor has an understanding of, or has a strategy of how to deal with these problems.
Yes. And I will tell you this, that if this company does not live up to the standards, I have no problem with firing them.
10 days.
10 days. So, and truly in those, we don't usually talk about the details in a board meeting of the selection process and interviews that go on, but I guess this situation warranted that. So.
It's obviously a sensitive issue too, though. You're talking about a business that's been in Glendale for 17 years.
Correct.
We've been doing business with, so obviously you can't expect it's not going to go away easily, or they're going to put their feet down, obviously, in some respects. And we've gained some good people from them in our district too, that are actually employed by us now. I know there's a couple of them. One we have at Daly.
In Glendale.
Robert.
In Glendale High. We have a couple guys that are great. That I remember Ozzy at Toll. He was one of the best security guards. There's been a lot of success stories. Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, everyone's okay. We're on to action item number 1B, and there was an amendment. I need a motion and approval for this on the floor for action.
Approval of action item 1B, formerly consent item 10.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Move
Motion
approval of action item number 2, resolution number 10, support of the YMCA of Glendale's